And meanwhile, while the recording starts, okay, there we go. Can we all please switch on our videos, as many of us as possible? It's really nice to see faces. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, Vijayani. Good morning. My name is Anu Rajiv, and I'll be the host for today's session. Welcome to Samachita Foundation's Wellness Dialogue session on smartphone addiction, finding balance in a digital world. Every month through this platform, I think for over 2 years now, we have been bringing topics related to mental wellness. We've had a wide variety of topics from empathy, listening, suicide, grief, addiction. We've had so many different topics, and we always look at it from a very practical sense, not just to build awareness, but also to see how we can use that in our own lives or in the lives of people around us. And that has been the focus of most of these talks. Before we jump into the session, I would like to take a few minutes to talk about Samachita Foundation. Samachita Foundation is building primary emotional well-being structure in India, and Pukar Helpline is an initiative as part of Samachita Foundation. It's an emotional support helpline. It has been running for over 2 years now, and the helpline provides free, confidential, non-judgmental listening to anyone feeling distressed, depressed, or suicidal. The volunteers who work with Pukar Helpline are thoroughly trained and listen to you without any judgment and try to understand what you're going through. And I'm sure in today's world of disconnection, thanks a lot to the smartphones, probably, we rarely find a space where we can really be listened to. So I'm sure you see the value of this. We will share the details about the helpline on the chat shortly, and you can share it with people who you think might benefit from this. We operate every day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And like I said, we will put the details and you can share that forward. Before I introduce the speaker, and I'm really excited to speak to Molly ma'am about this, I just want to also finish some housekeeping uh, task. So we will be recording the session. As you can already see, it's being recorded. So in case you miss a part of it or anything, you can always find it on our YouTube channel. Um, we would love for the session to be interactive. Please do put your questions on the chat, and I will pick it up and I will keep interrupting Molly ma'am, as I always do to the speakers, and we will get that sorted. And I'm sure all of us have tons of questions on this topic because of our own experiences. Uh, we will have a Q&A as well towards the end. And towards the end, we will also have a very, very short feedback form, which it would be great if you can fill. It's going to take less than 2 minutes of your time just to understand how this session was and also what you might want to hear going forward from this space. Having said that, let's start with today's topic. Let me start with a quick question, and if it'll be great to see a show of hands. If not, I kind of know the answer already anyway. How many times have we picked up our phone just to check one thing, and then half an hour later wondered where the time went, right? And half the times when we pick up our phone, we probably don't even know why we're picking it up. It's just become a habit. You're definitely not alone. Today we are here to talk about this and why this happens. And not just that, I think also the impact or the cost which we're not seeing. I think a lot of us see some cost, but there's also a lot of hidden, invisible costs and impacts that we are not seeing and we're overlooking. So today's conversation is about understanding that shift from being to being conscious users of uh, smartphones from automatic behavior. And what does this addictive behavior really tell us about our inner world, or does it tell us anything about it? These are some of the questions that we will be talking about, and of course, any questions that you have. But rest assured, this is a space for reflection, not judgment. I think we are all in this together, so feel free to ask your questions. Great. With that, without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker for the day, Molly Thambi ma'am. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning. It's been a pleasure talking to you, preparing for this
Good,
session.
good
Good
morning, Anu.
morning. So she is a seasoned psychologist and a stress management specialist and brings over 15 years of expertise to the mental health field. She's a deputy director of Lifeline Foundation, where she drives suicide prevention initiatives, and a joint secretary at Antara Psychiatric Hospital. She leads their educational initiatives apart from her private practice as a counseling psychologist. You can see the variety of experience she brings, and you'll see more when I tell you that she also has a 20-year corporate career, including roles like MD and CEO of Calcutta Stock Exchange and regional head of National Stock Exchange. She transitioned from finance to psychology, holding an MA in clinical psychology, PG diploma in counseling, MBA from IIM Calcutta, and MA in economics. She also works with schools to empower adolescents and parents, tackling challenges like the one we're going to talk about, along with other things like internet addiction, with compassion and insight, which is so important. So we are so privileged and honored to have you here. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us this morning. So
My pleasure.
I'm going to start with a very direct question. So these days we all use our phones for work, and not just work. I think from everything to ordering a lipstick or one chili to work and to big relationship messages and communication at work. Even children are constantly on the phone to collaborate with their teams, project teams, or make plans. So we have good reasons to be on the phone, but how do we, at what point do we realize or recognize that this crossing into something we might call addiction? What are those? Is it about time spent? Is it loss of control? What is something deeper that I'm not looking at?
Anu, our modern life has become so convenient. The normal average human being struggles have actually reduced. So, as a result, even as a psychologist or even otherwise, I'm sure parents who are here will say that their children are not working hard enough. I used to feel that my daughter's not working hard enough. We've just made it so convenient for them not to need to do it. Now, what
Yeah.
would qualify as addiction? Um, okay, so it's like this. When your daily life starts getting impacted by your phone use, when your sleep gets impacted, when your family, let's say within the family, let's say among your people, you do not have conversations, and the phone use is compulsive, and phone is your only source of entertainment.
Hmm.
Earlier, Earlier, we used to have so many forms of entertainment. In fact, I must tell you nowadays, see, since I work with schools and with children, I find there are no hobbies now. A child
Yeah.
goes for tuition and they come back and they take the phone and they're entertained by the phone. It's easy for parents also. There's no blame here. The child, even a 2-year-old child, keeps saying 1 minute more, 1 minute more, etc. This 1 minute more or 5 minutes more is has become a regular conversation in every household.
Yeah.
So in schools, I find that if you tell children, they'll say, but my father's always on the phone. If you
Yeah.
tell the father, he says, I've worked hard all day, I've been yelled at by my boss, I want to come home and relax. So now relax is equal to the phone. So how do we know it's addiction?
Yeah.
When your daily life gets impacted, when decisions that you should be taking gets put back, I find procrastination is one of the biggest fallouts of smartphone addiction. You will see there is eye strain, what is called the text neck, this kind of
Mm.
thing. Attention span reduces. Do you know earlier, let's say 20 years ago, we used to say that the human attention is about 20 minutes. Now the attention span is 8 seconds. There's also something called a second screen syndrome. You've gone to watch a movie, but you're
Yeah.
also looking at your phone,
Yeah.
right? Then overthinking. Overthinking, everybody does it, but there's a huge increase in overthinking, and relationships begin to suffer. There's no real conversation. This is the biggest fallout that I see, that people don't talk, or they're talking through their phones. And of course, unrealistic expectations and inability to control impulse. So, as a psychologist and in schools, it's very common children come and say, I'm not able to study, I can't focus, I can't focus. Nowadays, our jobs have become very easy because all these kids are addicted. So, what do we mean by addiction? When you've tried to stop more than 3 times and you're not able to, when you think you will be on your phone only for 5 minutes, and without realizing you've already spent an hour, when you cannot remember what you scrolled yesterday, okay, and when you're on that constant, what we call the dopamine spikes, and this is no different from alcoholism or gambling as far as the brain is concerned.
Mm.
So the most vulnerable are the children whose, this is the logical brain, the prefrontal cortex. It's not developed till the age of 25. So you are actually messing it up already. It's like stunted growth. What would you say if a child doesn't physically malnutrition? So, they don't develop physically. This happens on the mental side too. So
So if
when
I
you
may
find,
interrupt you,
yeah,
I'm
sure,
sorry.
sure.
If I may interrupt
Hmm.
you, what you're saying is when I'm not able to exercise control, when the tool
Yeah,
is using me rather than me using the tool, which is what the
yes,
common way of saying it is, right? So then
absolutely.
that's when I can tell myself that, okay, there is something amiss here and I need to take a look at it. And it could be
Right.
addiction.
See, our brains, like the prefrontal cortex or the logical brain, has the ability to make decisions for us. That's what we use
Mm.
to make decisions. So when the brain is not able to, so there is a go mechanism and there is a stop mechanism, a start and a stop. So your brain will tell you, like, that you shouldn't be eating too many chocolates. So if somebody is eating too many chocolates, the brain will say, nope, this is not a good idea. You're going to get sick, and you stop. Okay. But let's say in the case of a digital medium, your brain keeps telling you, but you're not able to stop. When the go system becomes stronger than the stop system, that is addiction.
Wow, that's a very interesting. First time I'm hearing this kind of definition. That's beautiful. When the core systems become stronger than the stop, I'm not able to
Yes,
control. Hmm.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and I
So
think that
there's
I'm
also
also
one more thing.
hearing. Sorry, go ahead, please.
Yes, so there is one more thing, which this is a beautiful example. So there is a psychologist, a researcher called Jonathan Haidt, and HAIDT. So in one of his books, he writes, I mean, he uses the analogy of an elephant and a rider. Usually, the rider is able to control the elephant. So the elephant is our emotional mind, and the rider is our logical mind. Once in a while, the elephant takes over, and the rider can't control it.
Yeah.
In addiction, the elephant is always seems to be more under control than the rider. Rider has less control. That's an example.
Hmm. That's beautiful. I think what this is also telling me is that, as even what you said earlier, as people we know we should, we know I want to, but I'm unable to. Is how would I connect this to addiction, right? I mean that's connected to the top signal that you're talking about as well.
Okay. So let me, like I said earlier, there's no difference between being unable to stop smartphone use, excessive use, I mean, excessive
Yeah.
use,
Yeah.
and inability to stop smoking or drinking.
Yeah.
As far as the brain is concerned, it is the same. How do I say, the circuits are the same. So there is something called nowadays, even a 10-year-old child knows what is dopamine.
Hmm.
So dopamine is what we call the pleasure chemical, but it is not the pleasure chemical. It is the anticipation of reward. It's a reward
Hmm.
chemical, but not the reward. It is the anticipation of reward. So it is this. You will see even in life, there are many times you want something so badly. Let's say you want a holiday really badly. After the holiday, you don't feel very great, right? Or you want your exams to be finished over. But after the exams, you suddenly feel,
Yeah.
there's nothing happening. You suddenly feel blank, etc. So the anticipation is the reward. Anticipation of reward generates dopamine. Okay. Now, what
Mm.
happens is dopamine is about not about liking but wanting. Please remember this. There's a distinction. The want is always stronger than the actual reward. That is what gives you the spike. So what happens? Dopamine. So this constant use of the smartphone keeps giving you these micro hits. So it's exactly like an alcoholic who says, "I will stop," who starts with one peg. After some time, he needs two, he needs three. You would have heard so many alcoholics say that I can drink a whole bottle and stand straight. Do you know what that means? No amount of dopamine is giving him that hit. It's not enough. No
Mm.
amount is enough. So when someone says I can stand straight despite consuming a whole bottle, this is what it means. It means that dopamine is no longer working. So the normal cycle is that you want more and you want more and you want more. That is why 5 minutes turns to 1 hour very easily, very,
Mm.
very easily. And what happens? So, your reward center of the brain gets messed up with constant overstimulation. This is the reason nowadays I find there are so many children who don't want to come to school. So, there was a case in my school, one of the schools, where this mother wrote a long big letter blaming the school because the child doesn't want to come to school. So she came to see me. I called the mother. She came to see me. She gave me a whole lot of reasons about how smart her daughter was and how she's perfect at home and she doesn't want to come to school. So when I checked, the child just was not willing to start to learn or study or read or write, etc. While speaking, the mother tells me, ma'am, she's so smart. She makes such beautiful reels. That was enough for me. So I told the mother, why will your child come to school when she's got so much of attraction at home? The reels, they're giving her the dopamine. Studies don't give anybody dopamine.
Mm.
Studies is what you need to force yourself to do.
Yeah.
And the mother was blaming the school, blaming the school that, your school, there's something wrong. My daughter doesn't want to come. But the real issue is there at home. Children don't want to come. Fake a stomach ache, you stay home whole day, you can scroll. Or this goes for anybody, anything. People skip exercise because they are scrolling. People skip sleep because they're scrolling. People skip important decisions because they're scrolling. Your house is not clean because you're busy scrolling. Your bed is not made because you're scrolling.
Yeah. So would it be right to say that, earlier maybe we would have had to work hard towards getting this same pleasure, but now it's easily accessible. So I don't really feel the need to, my body probably needs that chemical or the pleasure sensation either through anticipation. But I don't really need
So
to
it is,
do these hard things or take these
yes,
hard decisions because I have
yes,
easy access to it.
absolutely. And all it needs is a tap. What other
Hmm.
things give us pleasure? Let's say food or exercise or something, hobbies or whatever. They all need work. This
Effort.
doesn't
Yeah.
need, it's so easy, easily accessible,
Right.
etc. And it's always there on cue.
Right. So I see that we have, kind of gone into why this happens. And I'm also curious, um, is it is it is it that we're trying to run away from something? One, of course, seems like, we're running away from effort and decision making because it's easier to do it this way. But could addiction to smartphones happen because we're trying to hide something or avoid something?
It's always an escape. Anu,
Hmm.
it is always an escape. Could be escape from boredom, could be escape from reality, could be
Hmm.
escape from, something you don't want to face. It could be just wanting to distract yourself. It could be any of those. In the, let's say, pre-phone days or pre-computer days, let's say when I was growing up, you couldn't say that I'm bored. If you were bored, you went and did something to ease your boredom.
Yeah.
Now, if you're bored, you straight reach for the phone. It doesn't allow you to be bored.
Yeah.
A lot of creativity happens when a person is bored. You know, the human being is the only organism which has the ability for continuous thought. And this continuous thought cannot happen if there's constant bombardment in the form of, you know, let's say all these cues that are happening around you. So as a result, we're not able to think things through.
Mm.
Focus. So, focus and, concentration. You can't. It goes away. Your attention span, like I said, has become 8 seconds now.
Mm.
So it becomes very, very difficult. Did
Yeah.
I answer your question, or maybe you could ask it again?
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely. And I think from since I'm also in the space of mental health, I think we also use it to avoid our feelings, right? I mean, I think we don't know how to deal with them anymore, or don't want to make the effort of communication, or working on it or anything, and we find this as an easy way to escape, like you said, escape our feelings as well,
right.
escape
So
any
think, Nana.
discomfort.
Yes. So this tolerance for discomfort has almost been erased.
Hmm.
We don't want to deal with any kind of discomfort. So what is happening now? Because of this unwillingness to deal with discomfort, so what is happening? Resilience is going down.
Yeah.
And what is resilience? It's my favorite topic, so I must at least say 2 lines about it. So
Yeah.
resilience is your ability to deal with negative events in your life. When
Hmm.
you can't handle half an hour of boredom, what other negativity are you going to be able to handle? We
Yeah.
don't want, so the tolerance for discomfort has become almost zero. In today's world, we as well as our children, our discomfort levels are much lower than what it used to be.
Yeah.
And because of it, they don't know. So that is the reason you have these huge problems with heartbreaks, etc., because they've never
Yeah.
heard a no. No one's ever said no to them. They've always got whatever they wanted. They've never had to wait. You did
Yeah.
not have to. So in psychology, we use the term delayed gratification,
Hmm.
where you postpone pleasure for a future benefit.
Yeah.
What do we tell children? That you study hard now, you can enjoy later, right? So this delayed gratification does not happen anymore. So as a
Hmm.
result, when you're faced with life's challenges, you're not able to, like I see this in adolescents all the time. Children are not able to understand why somebody doesn't like them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not able to accept that someone may not like them. So they come in, like I see this in schools. Ma'am, tell me how to make this person like me.
Yeah.
There was a class six child who came and said, I like this particular girl, but she likes somebody else. Please tell me what I should do to make her like me.
Yeah.
So it's as low as 10, 8 nowadays. So that's the thing.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I'm also thinking about, again, within the whole space of why does this happen? I'm also wondering, and I think it may be related to what we have spoken about, but the specific question I think is there in everybody's mind, where where does this urge to check the phone come from? Which feels almost like I'm not even in control, like it's happening automatically. The minute I'm not doing anything, I'm just checking the phone. There's no reason, there's no purpose. It's not work, it's nothing. What is it? What is that urge that makes me want to go there? Again, I guess it's pleasure, but I'm wondering if there's something hidden there.
No, it's the addiction cycle. It is the addiction cycle which makes you want more and more and more of something.
Hmm.
Just makes you want more and more. It is the addiction cycle because you give a brain a little bit, it'll want more. It will want more. Unless you're able to replace these activities with something else. We'll talk about
Hmm.
that when we come to
Sure. Sure.
the rewiring,
Sure.
Um, so this, uh, not being able to touch your phone, not being able to check your phone gives you anxiety
Yeah.
because it is a brain wanting that extra stimulation.
Yeah.
It's the craving. It's just like a smoker's
Mm.
craving or an alcoholic's or a gaming addict's. You
Hmm.
know, they want to keep, they don't want to give up that. So the same thing, anticipation of reward, because you don't know when you pick up the phone to scroll, you do not know what you're going to see. So
Hmm.
it's that anticipation of reward which makes you want to do this more and more. So there's a cue. So we call it the addiction cycle goes like this. There is a cue.
Hmm.
In this case, your phone is the cue. For an alcoholic, that alcohol bottle is the cue, or seeing his friends
Yeah.
is the cue. So you become very hypersensitive to these cues.
Mm.
If you see somebody using the phone, you want to use it. If the phone notification goes off, you want to check what it is. Anticipation of reward.
Hmm.
So you go and check. Then what happens is, so when this extra sensitization to cues happen, there's a desensitization to normal activities.
Hmm.
So you don't feel like doing what you're normally supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that's again, it's that whole cycle which this thing. And then, so when you can't do what you're supposed to do, that means your prefrontal cortex or your logical brain loses the control to say stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
And that
becomes
brings,
weaker.
yeah. And that brings me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is, or ask you about, which is the impact, right? And you did
Yeah.
mention a couple of impacts before, but I think what you're now saying is that it has a real impact on your ability to think and make decisions and everything that a human being is supposed to be doing differently from the rest of the world. I think it directly impacts all of that. And are there, other than that, are there other impacts that we are, in oblivious to at this point?
So, of course, I've told you enough about children, but let me tell you about relationships.
Yeah.
So, again, this extra, how do I say, being online all the time, you you don't have the patience for normal conversations.
Yeah.
People send messages, couples or parents send messages to each other instead of talking. There is no sitting and talking. There's no sitting and sharing memories. So sometimes when I get, let's say, couples in the clinic, relationship issues, etc. So I give them a homework. I say, at least half an hour every day, you need to sit on the same sofa without any kind of digital device, no TV, no phone, nothing. But you need to sit
Hmm.
for half an hour. I'm not even going to say talk, but you need to sit. Invariably, people can't do it. They come back and they say, no, ma'am, it's very difficult. Please give us some other homework. Right? So the conversation, the depth of relationships, even relationships themselves are now, um, you know, uh, led by dopamine and not by something more concrete.
Hmm. That's
So
interesting.
what you see on social media, it leads to unrealistic expectations.
Hmm.
And this is a huge issue in families nowadays. Everyone's on social media now. Grandparents are on social media, grandchildren are on social media, parents are on social media.
Yeah.
So obviously, for them, entertainment has become only this. So there's no playing with children. There's no sitting and reading to them.
Yeah.
See, for example, telling stories, children making up stories is a very important part of child development. Nowadays, children are on the phone. How are they going to make up stories and come and tell you?
Yeah.
But they don't even have to make the effort to make up those stories. So can you imagine the impact it has on the brain, on a developing brain?
Yeah.
The human connect is reducing face to face. Now, no senior citizen says they are bored. Everyone is happy with their phones.
Yeah.
So as a result, friendships suffer, relationships suffer, and family connections suffer. Children don't want to talk to their parents. They're snapping at their parents. Everything has become, the fuse has become so short. See, a child goes to a father and the father just shoos him off, says, jump, get lost or does whatever. And
Hmm.
that impacts the child again and again and again.
Yeah.
So this is the biggest lack of human connection, the lack of real human emotions, ability to express has also gone down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any conversation that you have with people nowadays, they'll bring up something they saw on social media.
So true.
People observe less of what is around because everyone's on the phone. Either you've got something in your ears or you're watching something.
Yeah. I'm also
So,
wondering because we are in some sense we're avoiding connection and everything that goes with it in terms of feelings, all of that. But on the other hand, this addiction is also causing a lot of these things, right? Like disconnection, loneliness, anxiety, comparison.
yeah.
Like uh, there's constant comparison now, and what does that do to our self-worth and self-esteem and all of that? I think it's numbing our feelings on one end and also generating a lot more discomfort and uncomfortable feelings on the other end. What do you have to say about that?
You know, it's very funny, but it actually, sometimes you feel ignorance is bliss.
Hmm.
Okay. So there is so much of input. You know, a child or a person sitting in Texas and a person sitting in Trichy or a person sitting somewhere else, anywhere else, sees the same content almost, has
Hmm.
access to the same
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
So when you are seeing so much of external stuff which is not relevant to you or your life, automatic discontent and lack of, I would like to say that people forget to do a reality check when they start because of this comparison. Everyone's life circumstance is different, but you see something and you start wondering, why can't I be like this? Or why
Hmm.
can't I have this? As a result, children or adults, their needs and wants become um, there is a what we call a disconnect with reality.
Hmm.
So you have these huge debts now because people do not do a reality check with their life situations or their life circumstances, but they are
Yeah.
aspiring. The aspiration is beyond the reality.
Yeah.
It's good to aspire, but
Yeah.
everything needs a reality check. We always say dream big, do this, but there's always an element of reality that we need to keep in mind that is going away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I want to move to, how do we address? I think we understand why it's happening, what is the impact. I want to move to how do we address it? But I also want to say two things before that. One is somehow the system that we are living in is also such that a lot of the things that we need to do as adults, usually at least, is on the phone. So if let's say I'm just, doing my work and suddenly I remember, oh, I don't have milk. Okay, let me order the milk. And then I remember, oh, I need to set up a meeting. Okay, let me do that. And then, oh, I need to check on, where's my daughter? Where's the bus? Let me track that. So there's both again here, right? There's reason to check the phone as well. There's plenty and more reasons to check the phone. And there's also no reason at all, and I'm still checking the phone. So pretty much leaving me on the phone all day is what I'm sensing. And which is very scary, and which is why I want to talk about how do we not be there. But I want to talk about that in at least three categories. I think you referred to that as well, which is the senior citizens, which are also, I think the senior citizens and the young kids are, according to what I've heard with the very preliminary research, they are the most affected by smartphone addiction. Uh, I want to talk about these two categories specifically, but also in general for all of us. How do we address this? What do we do? Like, how do we bring back the stop signal?
Uh, See, Anu, it's not possible to do without the phone in today's world. Our
Yeah,
money is on the phone, our banks are on the phone, our
correct.
identity is on the phone, everything is on the phone. That's fair
Yeah,
enough. That is use. Okay. So there is use and there is misuse or
Hmm.
there's overuse,
Hmm.
right? When you want to do, let's say you need to order milk, or you need to track the school bus, or you need to set up a meeting, that does not take much time.
Yeah.
What takes your time away is the mindless scrolling.
Hmm.
For work, you will need it. It's a part of our lives. We
Yeah.
cannot do without it. So here we need to make that distinction between use and misuse or overuse. It's not
Hmm.
the use which is the problem, it is the overuse.
Correct.
Or
That's an
let's say
important point.
a senior citizen, instead of going for a walk, he's sitting and scrolling all day. See, earlier, let's say they would move around the house, do things, do this, that, etc. Now they sit on the, let's say many, I see this a lot. Many grandparents whole day they're just sitting and scrolling. And
Yeah.
then the children come back from school. If they have grandchildren in the same house, they take the grandparents' phone and they are scrolling.
Yeah.
So many times, so I hold these sessions in school for parents, about this. So invariably they said, "Ma'am, please take a session for the grandparents." So invariably, so now when I do orientation in schools, I always keep this one little part about, how do you explain to grandparents
Hmm.
without yelling, without this thing. So they need to be sensitized too on this.
Yeah.
Very, very important. So that is one part. The children, of course, have been talking about what do we do. One
Yeah.
of the first things to do is, so let's look at it in terms of a detox. Okay.
Hmm.
Let's say if you were trying to give up smoking, you keep your cigarettes away, you're not seeing it. But phone is not like that. It's there with you. You'll have to kind of deal with it. So one of the things that I would suggest everybody does is turn off notifications.
Yeah.
So one day I was fiddling with my phone. I do not know what I did, but I turned off all notifications. Now what happens is if I have a missed call also, I don't get to know. I
Hmm.
have to go to my call list and check if there have been any missed calls. So initially
Yeah.
it was very irritating for me. Then I learned to live with it. So now I know that if I want to check if I have any calls, I just have to go there and see. But this constant notification, that ting ting which goes off, that is something that you need to, the first thing that you got to do is turn that off.
It reminds me of Pavlov's dog. I feel like
Absolutely,
we've all become like that.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anticipation of reward. What would have
Hmm.
come? Would a reel have come? Would a message have come? Would a joke have come? Would,
Yeah.
whatever, that anticipation. So that is something that you need to curb. One. Second, you do need to use, are you aware that every phone has inbuilt digital well-being settings in every phone?
Hmm.
So you will need to, let's say, if you're spending too much time on X app, whatever is the app, you need to reduce that. It gives you an alert. So at least you're aware of it. So everyone talks about mindful eating nowadays. You've got to be mindful about eating. So you've got to be mindful about your phone use, the
Hmm.
mindfulness part. So you do need to use those digital well-being settings on the phone to reduce notifications, have fixed times, make it harder for you to access the phone.
Hmm.
All the apps which are non-essential and entertainment should not be on your home screen.
Hmm.
Okay, so if it's not on your home screen, you have to go and look for it. Notifications are off and the app is not on your home screen, it just makes it, so we call it friction. You need that friction, that
Yeah.
effort. The more effort it takes, whatever. Then, if you're mindful, count to 10 before you reach for your phone. There has to be, uh, so it's something like this. Let's say you want to look at the phone, you want to scroll for a bit, you think you've worked hard enough and you want to relax, you want to, you know, you have to say, okay, to look at my phone, I'm going to do 10 squats, or I'll do 10
Hmm.
stretches, or I'll drink a glass of water. So this usually works. I tell children, go eat something instead of looking at the phone. Then come back. By then, um, that desperate need has passed. So it
Hmm.
passes. it's a coming, going kind of feeling. So you distract your mind. I use for my, for people I teach, I use what is called the 2 minute brain reset. For 2 minutes, do something else. Your brain gets distracted. Then that urge passes.
Hmm.
So it's only a question of being able to control urge or learning to control the urge.
Yeah.
You have to distract your brain. A second is what we call a reward reset. Okay? So you could try doing a mini detox once a month, 24 hours without your phone,
Oh my
except
God.
for
Can't
calls.
imagine it.
Yes. So you'll have to plan that.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll have to plan that. And you make sure, or even if you use the phone for calls, you do not touch anything else.
Hmm.
Completely no social media, no other way, no reels, no YouTube, nothing. So a lot of phone use nowadays gets passed off under the guise of learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning something. So children say this, I'm learning something.
Yeah.
But it should not be even for that.
Hmm. That's a really good point. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
learning does happen on the phone these days.
Yeah. Yes. So you have a limit for that.
Hmm.
You have a limit for that. You have a limit for that because there's no need of too much learning every day. Consistent learning every day is good enough. Too much, you're not going to remember anything. You're not going to remember the next day what you learned the previous day if there's too
Hmm.
much of it. But
Yeah.
if it's in pieces, you may remember the next day. You may
Yeah.
remember the next day. So, real life activities to replace your phone. Just once a month, try this, what we call a mini detox. Another one is, which really, really works, is rule based use. So, you have to set your own rules. Okay. Like, for example, for yourself and your kids, like 1 hour family time, no digital devices.
Hmm.
Nowadays, children are busy on the phone, mother is cooking or doing whatever, and nobody helps in the setting the table or getting food to the table or taking it off, etc. You need to give chores to children. They have to be given responsibilities. So in this whole, I see this a lot where parents say, you just study, you don't have to do anything else.
Hmm.
That's not right at all. They have to be given responsibilities. They have to be given chores, even if they're 5 years old. If you
Yeah.
do not give them, so it's a part of discipline. It's a part of self-discipline as well as parenting discipline.
Yeah.
If you do not discipline your children, the world will discipline them very badly later on.
Yeah.
So
And if
one
I
of
may interrupt there,
sure,
sorry, if I may interrupt there,
yeah,
the word discipline usually has a, very, uh, people have an aversion to it, especially children. I'm also wondering if we can think about it as practicing effort, right? That's
yes,
what it is. Practicing effort. Like it's
yes,
okay,
yes,
I'm able to make effort. Just to
yes.
know that it's useful.
A grandmother came to me a couple of days ago saying that her grandchild is 2 years old and the father, two and a half something, and her son does not want to send him to a play school because the teacher may scold him or the teacher may try to discipline him. He
Hmm.
does not want the child to go to an environment where somebody tells him no. Can you imagine that child growing up and no one in his life telling him a no?
Yeah.
So the first time a girl tells him a no, he's going to have it, right? So when we say discipline, there's again, if we do not have structures, if we do not have boundaries. So I often use this example. When a child is small and we teach them to brush their teeth, if they don't want, we catch them and brush their teeth or we force them to have a bath. If we didn't do that, wouldn't they grow up to be monkeys?
Yeah.
Why do we insist that they should brush their teeth? They don't want to brush their teeth. Why?
Yeah,
So you are conscious about physical hygiene. What about mental hygiene? What about
that's a
emotional
great
hygiene?
way to put it. Yeah.
So these are essential, and if you do not do it, then later on you'll have problems.
Hmm.
There's no manual as such, but yeah, these are
Correct.
guidelines.
Correct. So I'm just keeping an eye on the time. I know I want to give some time for question answers as well, but just a very quick question on, these sound like things that I can do for myself, right? A lot of this is, okay, if I feel I'm overusing or misusing, I can do for myself. What if I'm seeing, let's say, with children and, parents, it might be much more difficult. What can I do to gently and compassionately bring in these um, restriction or rules? Let me put it that.
Just like the way you would instill any rule in the house. How do
Hmm.
you sensitize your children about safety, physical safety? Don't look both ways and then cross the road. Don't go running around here there. Don't talk to strangers. We do this, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
aren't we strict about it? So this is also the same way. There's no difference.
Hmm.
There is no difference when we give guidelines to our children,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, so let me quickly I'll take 3 minutes and go through the steps that we need to use. Suppose, let's say, we want to do a little bit of detox, not a little bit, if we want to detox. So, our goal is to use and not abuse.
Hmm.
So, okay, so you should pick any one area, not all. Either you reduce or stop nighttime scrolling or social media or constant checking. Any one. You start with any one of these. Never all three because it's not possible.
Yeah.
I think it was Mark Twain who said, "Oh, giving up smoking is so easy. I've done it
I've
hundreds
done
of times."
it. Yes.
Okay, so we'll land up there if we do this. Second is that mini detox that I spoke about.
Hmm.
The third is, there's a nice term. It's called a digital sunset.
Hmm.
So, which is no screen 1 hour before bedtime. Okay. Uh, you need to use technology to control technology. So the apps that I told you, or the settings, etc., use technology to control technology.
Hmm.
Most important, you need to rebuild real life rewards. If I go for a walk every day, my health gets better. You
Hmm.
have to force yourself.
Yeah.
Nothing in life happens without forcing yourself. And by forcing, I mean you need to distract your brain. If you do not make that effort, you will be sucked in and stay there in the digital bathtub. Right? Like, for example, where have all the hobbies gone?
Yeah.
Nobody has any hobbies anymore except,
Yeah.
so it is friction, that effort, discomfort. We need to
Yeah.
learn to get used to that discomfort to produce something. You don't give
Beautiful.
something, you don't get something.
Yeah. I think being used to discomfort and effort kind of, for me in my head, summarizes this whole thing, right? Becoming okay with discomfort. And I also want to point out really quickly that, you are walking the talk, as they say, because you mentioned just before the session that you actually made the chain that you're wearing, which is a hobby, learned crochet, so that you don't end up scrolling. So, everyone here, she's walking the talk, so, she knows what she's talking about. Is it okay if we take questions now? I think Arun seems to have one. Yes, Arun, please go ahead.
Hey, Molly. The
I
last time I met you, like I should ideally call you Molly Auntie, but you're some more like Molly Chechi.
You're welcome to call me auntie, chechi,
Molly
whatever. It
Molly
doesn't
Chechi
matter.
is Molly Chechi is better than it sounds more apt for you. Anyways, I just had to add this one question, right? A lot of parents really, the fear today is ये कोई गलत काम कुछ ना कर दे, right? And that's why the disciplining effort is restrained in a lot of ways. And the second thing is that they also have the other kind of argument is that मुझे नहीं मिला तो इसके लिए करते हैं, right? So if I haven't got it, so let me do it for my child, right? So these are two kind of reasonings that kind of come very regularly. So how do you think you could go and answer that as a counter to disciplining?
So what happens is when you're trying to make up for what you didn't get, and you give the child rewards without the child making an effort or wanting, waiting. So this whole concept of delayed gratification is what drives ambition and motivation in children. So if you would have heard of that marshmallow experiment, I think it was done somewhere in the 60s, where it's a very famous psychological experiment. I think they evaluated some couple of thousand children, 3 to 4 year olds. They were put in a room and they were given this candy, and they were told that if you wait to eat the candy, I'll give you 2 candies, otherwise you'll get only one.
Yeah.
But there were some children who ate it quickly. There were some children who avoided even looking at the candy to stay away from temptation, and different responses. So they traced these children over the years, and it was found that the most successful children were the ones who did not eat the candy, because they knew that they had to give something to get something in the future. So if children are not taught to wait, to want, you give them before they want, they will not know how to strive for something. So Arun, to answer your question, the striving for excellence, striving for something in life, this is wanting something is very important, and that delay is also important. In fact, there's a lot of research to prove this. So if a parent is overindulging a child, that's actually, you're not doing the child a favor. You're actually damaging his ability to, achieve in life, because you're providing everything.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Arun?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's difficult to convince parents some of this because you always rationalize from a source of emotion, right? And getting over the emotional and being rational is not exactly something very parenty to do.
That is why I use the example of Jonathan Haidt's elephant and the rider. So elephant is the emotion and the rider is the logic. So very often the elephant does take over the rider.
Yeah.
I treat my parents as children nowadays. They're around your age. And I treat them as children, and I talk to them as children because they've started behaving like children. Right? So,
of course they do. They will.
That's also the same, the addiction problem, and they are spending so much time on the phone. And I think all of us have grandparents who are in similar situations. So that's something to think about. Yeah, that's it.
You need to give that. See, you can't just say don't do this. You need to give alternatives. You can't just say don't do this, don't do this. It's never going to work. The activity or the brain needs what we call we come back to this whole thing of rewiring, or the brain can reset. Patterns can be reversed. So you need to give alternates. Without alternates, just saying no is not going to work. So even for children.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Arun. We have one more from Ajanta Sen Gupta. It says, do you think online teaching, which is the new normal, gives the children an excuse to have the smartphone in hand?
Certainly. The excuse is online teaching. But if a parent is observant, they know what the children are doing. And that 1 minute more and like I said, even a 2-year-old knows how to say 5 minutes more now. So yes, it's a fallout of COVID. that
Yeah.
everybody needed a phone and the children got access to phone, but that does not mean we don't monitor it or its uncontrolled use. Because I find class 2 and 3-year-old children watching porn nowadays.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of, the horrible world that they're being exposed to, and their brains cannot process it. So I'm not saying that do not use the phone. It needs to be controlled use.
Monitored. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Thank
the
you.
same as if a child wants 100 chocolates and you can afford it. Why don't you give
Yeah.
him 100 chocolates? You give him one chocolate. Why? You should be giving him 100.
Yeah.
So the same way, if the child wants so many hours, why can't it be just like a chocolate?
That's a great analogy, I think, to also remind us when we are in our day to day. Maybe we could take one more question if someone has a question. Meanwhile, Dolly has shared the feedback form. If you can just take a few minutes to fill that in while we wait for any other questions that Meera looks like you have one. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Molly. Meera from Dubai. Okay. Hi. Okay. Now, this to get de-addicted from the phone is a big concern for senior citizens like us. Okay. So I've got myself in the habit of was Zen word, Guru math, all during the sleep time, thinking that okay, that is a good way of, but that still I feel is an addiction. How do I get out of that? You say one
Very
hour.
simple.
Yeah.
You have to, you see, it's like this. All of a sudden, if you start something, it's not going to work. You should be gentle with yourself. Please do not beat yourselves about this. We need to make that effort. If you're 1 hour before bed, try and switch it off. But if it is something that is going to help you feel asleep, it's okay. But no scrolling. You want to listen to white noise, you want to listen to bhajans, you want to listen to some calming verses, that's fine. But you're not going to be doing the tap tap or the scroll scroll. It should not be in your hand. Or tell Alexa to play you whatever you want. So you're not that, visual overdose is not happening. That is what you need to, because we've got such overstimulated, we are so overstimulated visually that we are actually losing other senses. Ability to listen has gone down. Ability to relate to others has gone down because we're so visually stimulated. Visual stimulation is the first thing you need to reduce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Meera. Good to see you, Meera.
That's great.
Meera's my classmate from 40
Oh,
years,
wow.
whatever,
So nice.
30, 40 years
So
ago,
nice.
yeah.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Molly ma'am, for your time today. And I think most of all, giving us a very real perspective on this and how we can think about it differently. And, it's no different from any other kind of discipline that we would put on ourselves or others. I think that is a good takeaway for me as well. Really appreciate your time on a Saturday morning, and I appreciate everyone who's attended today on a Saturday morning as well. Thank you so much. Thanks, Molly ma'am, again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.